Hi, Chunin Otaki here. Today's video is a comparison review of Canon EOS-1 and Nikon F3. As for F3, it comes with motor drive. But as for EOS-1, I only have the winder, so I will compare both cameras with nothing on them. Both cameras are professional cameras that dominated the market, and are the flagship cameras of Nikon and Canon, respectively. Which of these two cameras is superior, Nikon F3 and Canon EOS-1? And which is easier to use? Or which is inferior? I am very worried about how well I can summarize them. But as always, I'll talk what comes up with me, and will not do any editorial work. Let's start the video. First, let's talk about the Nikon F3. A giant camera that was released in 1980 and sold for 20 years, until about 2000. It sold for 20 years and had a great sales record. I think it sold in huge numbers. There are still many of them for sale on the used market, but at high prices. It is steadily popular. The fastest shutter speed is 1/2000th of a second. Basically, the shutter is fully electronic. But 1/60th second can be used as an emergency shutter. The emergency shutter is released with this button. This is a mechanical shutter with a speed of 1/60th of a second. All other speeds are electronic. The release is also an electrode release. The viewfinder is removable and the focusing screen can be replaced. Just lift it up to remove. It is the same as Nikon F and F2. But it is much easier to remove and install. It really is that easy. The viewfinder has a 100% field of view, following the tradition of the Nikon F single-digit models. The viewfinder is also very bright. It is worth noting that, for the first time on a Nikon F series single-digit model, AE is included from the start. You can choose aperture priority AE. Turning the shutter dial to A sets the camera in aperture priority AE mode. Once the aperture is determined with the aperture ring, the shutter speed will then change automatically. A distinctive feature of the camera is the exposure compensation dial. With this dial, you can select +1, +2, -1, -2, and so on, from +2 to -2 in 1/3 steps. These are the same numbers we are used to with modern cameras. The film winds up very smoothly. The shutter sound is also very good. It's in AE mode now. It sounds very nice. Really, this is smooth. This is in contrast to Canon EOS-1. Let's open the back cover. The spool is plastic, as I thought. It was already replaced with plastic at that time. There is no multiprene for light shielding in this part of the lid, except this narrow groove. This is the same for Nikon F, F2, and F3. Nikon F's back lid is fully separated from the body, but without any multiprene. It's great that there's no concern about multiprene deteriorating and causing light leaks. This groove has little light leakage even if multiprene deteriorates slightly. It is excellent. Let's remove the lens. There is multiprene here. This is unavoidable to reduce the impact of the mirror. This is a bayonet mount. Nikon already had a bayonet mount from Nikon F. This is also in contrast to Canon. The shutter seems to be very durable. How many times it can shoot before it breaks? I wonder, has anyone ever had F3's shutter broken? However, an electronic shutter requires a battery for releasing. It's somewhat sensitive to cold temperatures. A cold weather battery box existed as an option, I hear. F3's weakness is a limited mechanical shutter speed of 1/60th second in cold places. From this time on, all later cameras became electronic cameras, so it was inevitable. However, electronic cameras have some advantages. They do not require much maintenance, and the shutter speed is more accurate than mechanical cameras, and they are less prone to breakage. Compared to mechanical shutters, they are harder to break even though without maintenance. F3 weighs about 100 grams less than new F1. The electronic shutter contributes greatly to that. F3 is very solidly built. Perfect. It is more reliable than new F1 because it has fewer mechanical parts. F3 was a favorite of war photographers and adventurers, and is still very popular around the world. About the new F1. Canon new F1 is Canon's flagship camera released in 1981. For price, I forgot to mention for F3. F3 eye level, at the time of release, was 139,000 yen. And new F1 with eye level finder was 149,000 yen. New F1 was 10,000 yen more expensive than F3. It's so heavy, 100 grams makes such a big difference. Comparing the two units, there is a clear difference in weight. Really heavy. The control system is hybrid, of both mechanical and electronic. So interesting. I realized it when a viewer gave me some information. It seems there is a trick in the battery compartment. When the battery is inserted, the shutter button stroke is short and light. But when the battery is removed, it becomes deep and heavy. The terminal of the battery is a switch, which seems to separate the mechanical and electronic types. When the battery is inserted, it is electronic. And when the battery is removed, it is mechanical control. It is a hybrid system. It is a very unusual mechanism. It means that even without batteries, we can shoot accurately, except for the slow shutter speed. This makes it a wonderful camera, in the sense that it can function even when there are no batteries, or in cold weather where batteries are not available. However, this is now a hindrance. It is said that there are many mechanical problems. This causes low reliability. A machine with many parts will naturally be less reliable. Of course, new F1 is a wonderful camera, and was built with reliability in mind. However, it would be difficult to continue using it without maintenance. As for the viewfinder, Canon's FD mount never achieved 100%. It was 97% at the highest. When replacing the viewfinder, the penta part is slid back and removed. This was carried over from the old F1. The viewfinder prism and viewfinder screen are interchangeable. Let's open the back cover. Unlike Nikon F3, this part has moltoprene. But the structure is such that it can be light shielded without moltoprene. I don't know because the moltoprene has never deteriorated on my new F1. But the narrow groove has moltoprene, just like Nikon F3. The spool is also plastic like F3. Unlike F3, winding up the film makes a grinding noise. This is a very characteristic sound of Canon new F1. There are two types of people who like this noise, or who don't. I don't like it very much. There are quite a few people who like it, saying, this is the feel of new F1. Both cameras are equipped with a titanium curtain horizontal running focal plane shutter. The fastest shutter speed is 1/2000th of a second. The specifications are almost the same. But the major difference is the metering system. First, for Canon new F1, by replacing the viewfinder, you can switch between center part metering, center weighted average metering, and spot metering. I think this is a big advantage. In particular, I think it will be of great value for portrait shots of models using spot metering. But if you use spot metering, AE is not very useful. My new F1 has spot metering. However, Canon new F1 uses open aperture metering. This is somewhat outdated. I think it was also outdated enough at this point in 1981. Nikon F3 used TTL direct metering. SB17, I have forgotten the model name. But an automatic metering strobe for Nikon F3 was also there. The daylight synchro flash was also possible. TTL direct metering was a big difference between them. I think there is a big performance difference even with slow shutter. In terms of automation, I think Nikon F3 is superior. However, shutter speed priority and program mode are not available on Nikon F3. And program mode is not available on the new F1 either. But here you can use two priority modes by adding or replacing parts. First, if you replace the pentaprism with an AE Finder FN, you can use aperture priority mode. And if you add a winder or motor drive, you can use shutter speed priority AE. As a flagship model that could use shutter speed priority AE, Canon was able to gain a tremendous share of the motorsports photographer market. When I looked at the Suzuka circuit or the trackside, I saw rows and rows of white Canon lenses. With the advantage of being able to use shutter speed priority AE, Canon gained an overwhelming share of the market. Thus, to summarize what kind of situations they were used in, they followed Nikon F, F2, Canon old F1, and so on. Canon was good at photogravure and sports photography, while Nikon F3 was useful in the press, military, battlefield reporting, and so on. Nikon F3 was absolutely reliable, and Canon new F1 was not so reliable, but it was easy to use. I think there was an image. That new F1 can be used flexibly by replacing parts. And that Nikon F3 was so reliable that it could be called perfect. Both of them sold a lot. But new F1 gradually lost sales because of the change of mount. The new F1 uses a spigot mount called the FD mount. This was preferred by motorsports photographers. Compared to the bayonet mount, the spigot mount is stronger. We hear stories about lenses breaking. But the reason lenses break is because they are made to break. The structure is designed to protect the camera body when the camera and lens are dropped. The same is true of today's cameras. Most telephoto lenses are designed so that the lens can be broken, and the broken part can be replaced. Regarding these two cameras, which would you prefer to buy today? I think Nikon F3 is slightly more expensive. Although new F1 is also quite expensive in good condition. In terms of reliability, they are the same. Nikon F3 has an electronic shutter. So if it loses power, it is completely useless. Only an emergency shutter of 1/60th second will be available. In the case of new F1, the mechanical shutter can be used even if the camera loses power. It can be used at least for a while, but its complicated structure causes many mechanical troubles. This is the difficulty. New F1 is a bit better in the sense that it's repairable if we send it in for maintenance. But only if the power supply stops working. So, new F1 is slightly better. A body that can be powered is of course better. In the case of Nikon F3, it was manufactured until 2000. Which means that there are still many relatively new bodies available. that can still be used as an electronic camera and still have some life left in them. However, it is often said that the early bodies are no longer usable, except for the emergency shutter. And of course, there are reports of Canon New F1 also being unusable due to mechanical or power problems. So it is the same in both cases. In researching Nikon F3, I realized that there is a law of Nikon F single-digit models. It is often said that odd numbers of Nikon F one-digit models are great models, and even numbers are not so great. So, F, F3, and F5 are great models, and F2, F4, and F6 not so much. I have never used F5 and F6, so I can't say for sure. But I found a rule that says it is probably true. I will make a video comparing Canon EOS 1 and Nikon F4 in the future, so I will talk about it then. It's a point I've just noticed, so please be patient until then. It is really hard to say which of these two cameras is better. I hope you can refer to what situations the professional photographers of that time used them for. In other words, I think New F1 is better for fast-moving subjects, and F3 for fixed subjects. I think New F1 is particularly strong in motorsports. For those who say that the field of view must be 100%, F3 is the only choice. As for the viewfinder field of view, 100% is clearly not necessary. If you assume that you print the photos, it will not be 100% when you print. It will always stick out. In that sense, it is not necessary. But nowadays, we scan and digitize our photos for use. So I think that 100% viewfinder field of view is quite important. Both viewfinders are easy to read and bright. The brightness is almost even. The viewfinder magnification is about 0.8 in both. Both are very informative about the display in the viewfinder. New F1 has a mechanical gimmick and F3 has a slight LCD screen. F3 seems to be a bit more advanced. My new F1's viewfinder cannot correctly display the aperture value due to a misaligned thread that interlinks it. I think I have to send it in for overhaul. This video is a bit tasteless, but to take it to the extreme, use whichever you prefer. It is quite rare for someone to have both. In my case, miraculously, Sugyusha-san provided me with F3. So I will continue to use both in the future. As for my impression of Nikon F3, Nikon F3's meter displayed the exact exposure value as I had imagined. However, since my new F1 is set to spot metering, I like new F1 slightly better. For I can decide the exposure value while thinking for myself. The spot metering has an advantage that we can decide what part of the frame to meter, and how to compose the shot. Spot metering viewfinder screens are still available at online auctions and second-hand markets. When you want to use spot metering to accurately set the exposure, especially when shooting with reversal film, New F1 is a better choice. Both of them have durable light receiving elements. I don't think it has deteriorated much yet. But if you want to use them in perfect condition, it is better to have them clad. Even now, there are stores that offer maintenance services for both Canon New F1 and Nikon F3, such as Higasha Camera Service for Canon New F1 and Keitos for Nikon F3. If you take your camera to such a store for maintenance and use it in perfect condition, you may still be able to take professional grade photos. That's all for today's topic. Fans of either may not be satisfied. I will continue to use both cameras in the future. I would like to take New F1 in for an overhaul, but it is not easy to do, so I think it will stay for a while. I would like to do the same for F3, but I don't have the money. An offline meeting is scheduled in Tokyo, so I need the budget for that. That's all for today's topic. Here is the section for viewers to submit their own photos. Photo submissions section. Our first presenter today is Turun-san. Hi Otaki-san. I always enjoy your videos. COVID situation eased, wanted to use medium camera again. Please have a look. Shot with Zenza Bronica EC that I received as a gift. First one, Nikkor PC 75mm, which has super high resolution. Second, Super Komura 50mm f3.5, full aperture. I love the creamy bokeh and the good color rendering. Third, Zenza Bronica 150mm f3.5 early model. A weeping plum early in the morning. The soft depiction creates an indescribable atmosphere. I heard that Zenza Bronica 150mm early model was made by Narita Optical. Many enthusiastic fans there overseas. Later model by Tomioka Optical, depiction changed a lot. Want to try it too. A set of 3 photos. The first one has incredible resolution. Truly. For it's a medium format camera, the depth of field is shallow. It creates a nice feeling. The second one has beautiful bokeh. There isn't a lot of light, but the swirling bokeh and color are very impressive. The third one was taken with a Narita Optical lens. Narita Optical mainly made lenses for medium format cameras. They also sold their own cameras and did OEM work. However, I've never seen or held one myself. There isn't a lot of light in this photo either. However, the melting bokeh created by the medium format camera lens is so impressive. I'm very envious that he was given a Zenza Bronica EC as a present. Thank you, Turun-san. Next up is a post from Hideo-san. His handle name is Hideo-san. Hi Otaki-san. I always enjoy your posts. I got an unusual film. I had no idea how the colors would turn out until the film was developed. I still wonder why it ended up with such colors. I took the photos on a sunny day. The camera is Pentax MX and the lens is SMC Pentax M35mm f2.8. The film is called Kono Original Sunstroke ISO 200, an unfamiliar name. The titles of the pieces are Turned Away and Detour. Thank you. I don't know what to say about this. It looks like it was exposed when the film lid was opened. Not sure how such colors will come out or how the light source affects them. However, I definitely want to try it once. Should I try to find it? Maybe not available at Tokushima, my hometown. Thank you, Hideo-san. Next is Takikami-san. Thank you for your hard work during COVID pandemic. I will submit 3 photos. It's a composite photo. The title is Komainu Standing in a Shrine. It was taken at Sumiyoshi Shrine. I used Konica 3A made in 1958, lomography color 400, a color negative film. Hexanon 50mm f1.8 stop down to f11. It's a multi-coated lens manufactured in 1958. Made by an engineer who later designed Pentax SMC Takuma lens. He must have been so enthusiastic. Actually, it's 2-layer coated, but image quality is excellent like modern lenses. The photos. Above all, this Hexanon lens has wonderful color rendering. In addition, the resolution is also excellent. I also own this lens. You can see the texture and details of the surface of the guardian dog statue. All 3 have excellent detail expression. This camera was miraculously purchased at a low price. Beautiful shots. He made a good purchase. Thank you, Takikami-san. Next, we have 2 from Digoroid-san. Thank you for your hard work. Though I live in Tochigi, when I see a truck, it reminds me of you. Olympus OM20, Zuiko 50mm f1.8 and Ilford 400. Sorry, it's vertical. First one, Assault Amphibious Ship Astoria. Second, waiting for my owner. Thank you. It's not a warship, but a passenger ship. It's futuristic looking. Interesting. The image quality is very good. It was taken with Zuiko 50mm f1.8 lens. The slightly soft distant view is impressive. This is the second photo. The focus peak is on the chair in the back. The resolution is excellent. It's a nice photo with a good atmosphere. The composition is interesting. It's fresh that only half of the chair in the foreground is visible. Thank you, Digoroid-san. Next is a submission from Choshu Satsuma-san. Hello, Otaki-san. Thank you as always for teaching me about film photography. This photo was snapped in Shimokitazawa, a town full of youth culture. The shadow part is crushed, but please enjoy. Titled The Town with a Theatre Company. I used Nikon F Photomic FTN, Nikkor OC Auto 35mm f2, and Rolei Superpan 200. He mentioned that the black is crushed, but it doesn't seem to be completely crushed. What kind of environment did he scan this in? A good scanner could probably have brought out better result. This is an old building that seems to be on the verge of collapsing. The building has a sign saying Hakuchozar Theatre Company, but I wonder if it's still there. It's a town reminiscent of the Showa era and has a nice atmosphere. Thank you. That concludes today's submissions. Now, it's time for my camera section. We didn't receive any submissions for my camera section. Sorry. Now it's time for the Oh Yeah Oh No section. Today's submission is from Suyama Nori-san. It's my third post. At Kitamura Camera in Kuriyoshi, I got an EOS 5 with vertical grip, and a Canon EF 35-70mm lens. Today again at Kitamura, I got a Pentax ME, an SMC Pentax MF4 macro 50mm, and a Tokina ATX Pro 20-35mm lens. Some fungus there, but successfully removed. 500 yen each. Oh yeah. Right away enjoyed shooting with EOS 5. He bought quite a lot of things. His house may be filled with cameras. This EF 35-70mm lens is the higher grade of the two. It can be switchable AF and MF. The lens construction is probably the same. The other one is 35-70mm f3.54.5a. And I'm envious of this Pentax ME and the lens Pentax 50mm f4 macro. I only have two macro lenses myself. They're EF 100mm macro and FL 50mm macro. The other one is Tokina ATX, but what kind of mount does it have? Probably a Canon mount. The ATX Pro is a very good lens among Tokina lenses. I've never used it, but the reviews are good. However, Tokina lenses are said to have a tendency to fog. I'm hesitant to purchase one because of this. Most of the Tokina lenses in the junk box at the store are almost always fogged. However, this one seems to be fine. Thank you, Nori-san from Suyama. That's all for today's video. How did you like it? This video was a comparison review of Nikon F3 and Canon New F1. It may not have been a very good review. I conclude you can buy what you prefer, but match it to the lenses you have. No need to buy new F1 if you only have Nikon lenses, and vice versa. However, Canon seems to have cheaper lenses, though the price has gone up a bit recently. Nikon's AI lenses are very expensive. So if you want to start cheap, new F1 might be a bit better, since the FD lenses are slightly cheaper. That concludes today's video. How did you like it? About the next video. I don't have any film at the moment that I have finished taking. What shall I do? I am thinking about taking photos and making a video. but I may have one that will be finished from a DPE shop. If I do have that, I will introduce the photos. That's all for today's video. Please give it a high rating if you like. I'll do my best to reply to all the comments, so please post your comment. Subscribers are gradually increasing. I'm planning a Canon A1 giveaway to a viewer when the number of subscribers reaches 5,000. So please subscribe and wait. See you again in the next video. Bye for now.